right, y'all. We are back with another video, man. Y'all already know what's going on, all right? Now, look, today we got a really interesting topic, right? Recently, Pastor G. Craig Lewis, he released a video on his YouTube channel, right? This is, easy to go check out for yourself. Y'all already know I'll leave a link in the description for y'all if y'all want to go and watch the entire video, but we're going to cover about 10 to 12 minutes of his hour plus long video, right? Now, if y'all know anything about him, you already know he had a lot to say about the recent BET Awards. And he went in kind of, on a different topic about it because he talked about these artists wearing masks and what it actually represents, whether you know, they know it or not. And I thought it would be very interesting to react to it on the channel because, as we know, we see a lot of high level artists wear masks, right? In particular, I got Young Thug on the screen because when he got out of jail, he was on these masks like we've never seen. I don't think before Thug went to jail, he ever really wore a mask. Now, whatever happened, whatever, different kind of initiation he might have went through after he got out of jail or whatever, maybe something changed. You know, I remember when I was watching this interview when he got out, he had this full blown, kind of just crazy demonic looking mask right here. I thought this one was crazy. Like this one that he has on here is pretty demonic as well. Not even gonna lie, it's definitely a very interesting choice of a mask to wear. The one he had on most recently when he was at the BET Awards, this one looks a little crazy as well. When we think about artists wearing masks, we think about The Weeknd. We probably think about Kanye the most. Kanye has been doing it for a long time, and we know Kanye is possessed by some very dark spirits. You could just kind of look at this collage of masks right here, and these are by far some of the most demonic masks that I have seen. Like, and we all know because we can think about just before we get into the clip, we can think about all those Rothschild ball parties that they used to have in the 70s and the 60s. And when we think about what's that movie that came out in the 90s, we've talked about it 1,000 times on the channel, that Stanley Kubrick produced, Eyes Wide Shut. When we think about Eyes Wide Shut and all of the crazy demonic looking masks, we know these represent something, you know. I don't think they're just wearing these masks for any kind of reason, is my point here, right? They can represent something very demonic. I think I used this one as um a thumbnail one time, but they have very, just dark energy around it. When you see this, and especially when you see it as like a group of people at a party or wearing these kind of masks, you're not going to think nothing positive about this. Nothing screams God or something like that. This looks very dark. It gives off a very demonic energy, right? Very, very dark energy is what, you would feel when you see these kind of masks. Even most recently, I remember when I put this on the thumbnail, everybody thought this was MF Doom. But all this was The Weeknd wearing an MF Doom mask. That's all it was. And so it even makes you question the reasoning behind MF Doom wearing the mask that he wore, right? All of these different artists, which, we're going to continue to talk about it a little bit more as we check out this clip, but just kind of wanted to give y'all a quick overview of where this video is heading, right? And when you think about it, there has to be something behind this because, like I said, this gives off a very dark and demonic energy, right? So, with that being said, y'all, we're gonna go ahead and get this clip going, and this is pretty interesting. It goes into the BET Awards, goes into Glorilla and the very demonic monster-ish looking mask that she wore. Thought it would be very interesting for us to react to. All right, y'all, check this out.
These award shows, I've talked to people that were high level, high ranking witches, warlocks, and people that operated in darkness. And they told me that in these arenas, people think they're coming to get an award, but it's really an initiation. You think you're coming to get something that you should celebrate when really you're a part of a ritual. It's a satanic ceremony. And I'm going to prove it to you today. But I'm going to show you this video first so you can get a good understanding of what went down when it went down. Amen. All right. AdamandBeliever.com/celebratingdarkness.pdf. Okay.
Please welcome to the stage.
That's the song he's singing. Every marriage in that building is in trouble. They don't even know it. That's a full ancient divorce ritual. Look at her wedding dress.
For those of you that think that gospel music has gone too far.
First of all, I want to thank God, because this is the gospel award, huh?
Come through, shut you down, I'm breaking. Whoa, yeah.
Let me say this to all my TMZ people. Glorilla didn't choose herself. She didn't say, hey, give me the award. Somebody made that decision. So I don't have no, I'm not tripping on Glorilla. I want Glorilla to know I'm a fan. It's 7 p.m. Friday, 95 degrees. You know, let her cook. You know, I'm good with you. I'm good with you. So I don't want anybody to think Dietrich got a problem with Glorilla. No, man. She deserved to be top of the hip-hop female artist. She could win. She should win with the hit she's been coming out with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Have you spoke to her directly since, that video went viral or no?
No,
Okay,
but I would love to talk to her, love to collab with her. I don't want her to think Dietrich Haddon's her enemy. If anybody's trying to put me and her against each other, you're wrong.
Now, what's crazy is, y'all remember when he showed this photo, right? Where's the photo? Sure, we can find it. And when the BET Awards aired, a lot of people were dropping videos after this part aired because they could tell this was demonic. They could tell this was some kind of ritual. I mean, you had Taraji P. Henson in this. I don't know how tall of a dress that was. You know, I'm assuming she was on like some ladder or something like that inside the dress or whatever, however they set it up. But he called this an ancient divorce ritual and said that everyone's marriage inside of that award show would be in trouble because they were witnessing a spirit, they were witnessing a ritual, they were witnessing themselves being changed without knowing it. I mean, the dress was super demonic. Super demonic. It looked like the dead roses were on fire. The bottom of her dress looked soaked in blood, had like those little holes that fire creates when it burns it. Very demonic. And if y'all remember, you know, we've talked about Taraji P. Henson with the whole method acting thing, right? Remember, we had that video and she was talking about, you know, actresses and actors having to open themselves up and be filled with spirits and allow themselves, like she was talking about chakras and all this stuff. So she's very aware of the demonic presence or these demonic spirits that take control of her in order to complete some of these roles. Like she was talking about it on that show where there were a couple of other women and she was like the most outspoken, and it makes sense as far as her career. She just had the movie Straw with Tyler Perry, and you know, we all know what's going on there. She had that lead role. So for her to be, you know, so spiritually aware, if you want to call it that, she knows exactly what's going on. And a lot of the people at the BET Awards, especially in the crowd, these are not initiated people. Not all of them. Of course, you got the ones that are front row and stuff like that, but it's open to people, you know, who are just kind of connected, know some people, can get into the BET Awards, so on and so on. Not all of them are initiated. And even if some are, they may not know what this actually represents. But to me, it definitely represents darkness. It definitely represents darkness, right? So, we're gonna go ahead. We got a good bit more of the clip to watch. So we are gonna go ahead and get into that, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about all of these masks and stuff, right? So, let's continue the clip.
Because that's where we are now, where a gospel, so-called gospel artist can get up and give a whole anti-Christ interview to the world. And Christians don't catch it, don't even notice. It's because of music. What I've been telling y'all since I started. The only arena you can do this in, you can't do it in politics. An actor can't, nobody can do this. Athlete can't do it. You have to be a musician. And it's because music is able to influence you past your guardian. Bypass your guardian. Kurt has taken everybody that attaches to him into darkness. I'll put the scriptures up. He even said, my body is not God's. It belongs to one or two. So if it's not God's, who was talking to us? So this robot Maria from Metropolis, y'all saw that? They do this ritual because this ritual in that movie, 1920s, I've talked about it before. I don't even remember. Where's Jay? Which video is that, Jay? Huh? 5? No, it's automatic. 5. Part 5 I talked about, because I think Beyonce wore it. They all wore it. Everybody has to wear it because it basically shows that you're not in control. You're being controlled. If you're a robot, this is the first time the word robot was used or created. It was for this movie in 1920, I think 27. But Robot Maria, so there was a real Maria, and she was working against the little kingdom they had, and so they needed to they made a robotic Maria and then kidnapped the real Maria and transferred her consciousness into this robot, and this robot started operating under their control as Maria.
Now that is crazy because now we get an understanding of the real Metropolis robot and its meaning. He said that this is the first time the term robot was actually used or created back in the 1920s. So they were programming, so to speak, or, foreshadowing the fact that transferring consciousness is possible. And we've talked about it many times on the channel. I didn't know that. That robot was first coined or so in the 1920s, and the robot Metropolis is what represented, the transfer of consciousness. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, to get into the industry, you have to be controlled. So this represents that I'm no longer me. Something or entity is making me function now, and you got to show it. And they always have to come out with some kind of mask or disfigurement of themselves in a video and photo spread, whatever the case, to show this. This first one, this was now Playboy Cardi, what's his name? Kai Cenat and the other guy who we don't even know why he's Drewski. Still don't know why he's around. But those two, they were going crazy over Playboy Cardi, right? And of course, Kai Cenat masquerades as a Christian. Like, he has videos praying and stuff, but he's a part of this whole thing too. He did the mask ritual and everything. I'm gonna show you his picture. But they all were going crazy over Playboy Cardi because Playboy Cardi has accessed deeper levels into the Illuminati or the whole satanic arena. And of course, he has videos I can't even show. They're basically horror movies. But he did the disfigurement. And that's what they had him look like in one of his videos.
Now, real quick, I don't mean to keep interrupting the video, but I like how he used disfigurement, because it makes you think about like when Beyonce was on stage and we saw her face become deformed, disfigured. It makes you think about possession. Makes you think about them actually, showing you live possession. If you look at this photo, look at what he did to his teeth, his fangs. He had the whole vamp thing going on. You look at his ears. You look at the upside down cross. He's showing you a demon, a vampire. He's disfiguring himself. I thought that was a very interesting term to use to describe, them basically being possessed by demons live right in front of you. It's crazy.
Let me tell you something about demons, and I talked about this in part 9 of The Truth Behind Hip Hop. Demons always show themselves through people. Yeah. They want people to know that they're in you. Yeah, whether it's through tattoos, piercings, goth attire, hair, whatever the case, you're gonna decorate yourself in some kind of way. The Bible even says the demoniac that was in the graveyard was cutting himself with stones. He was marking them. That was the devils trying to show that they were in there. So a lot of people cut themselves or do cuttings. That's just a spirit trying to show that it has a hold of you. So let me get this, let me hurry up because I don't want any money. This is Glorilla, and she had to wear this mask during the Coachella performance. They have to do the mask ritual where they are disfigured to show the evil entity that is working through them. And this is Kai Cenat. he did this on one of his streams. He put this on and chased the guy around the room and did all of this. So this is all a part of what they have to do. And Weekend, he brought the robot on stage and did his whole concert around it just to show it. And then he wore this. So they're showing you that they are no longer operating under their power. Something is operating through them.
Now, real quick, just makes me want to go back to Thug real quick. Remember, we were just talking about it in the beginning. Thug got out of jail and immediately started wearing these masks. And, you know, he was kind of saying, I think I remember in this interview, that he just didn't want to be seen, didn't want to show his face, you know. But it makes you think, was he under the influence of these spirits? Was he told to do this? Was there some kind of agreement, you know, where you have to represent the symbolism because we got you out of jail? We could have put you in there for the rest of your life, you know, because Thug never really wore these kind of masks like that, you know. And this one in particular, like I was saying, this is dark. This first one in the interview that he did with XXL is a very dark, demonic looking mask. This one, you know, more along the lines of those eyes wide shut type of masks. And this one here is just very odd, you know, just like I was saying, just really, you know, kind of dark mask that you would choose, you know, or get designed for you to wear. But it really makes you think what actually happened behind closed doors once he got out of jail. And this, you know, according to the symbolism, is showing that he's being controlled, he's possessed, you know. And I mean, it's right there in our face, y'all. It's right there in our face. Hold on real quick, man. Sheesh. If this is not some of the most, this mask is crazy. This is what I was saying. This looks dark. This is, the eye is black. This is representing the one-eyed God. This is a salute to the one-eyed God right here. And all of her fans in the comments of a couple of posts I checked was like, her soul is gone. She sold her soul. Of course, she signed with CMG and Yo Gotti. Of course, she sold her soul. But this is crazy. This is what I was saying. This mask does not look pretty. This is not a mask that represents light or represents something, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this just brings me joy looking at this mask. No. A little kid, 4-year-old little kid will be scared out of his or her life looking at this mask. This is darkness. This represents, you know, something very demonic. That's what I was like kind of hinting at with these masks. They represent darkness. Remember this collage of Kanye masks. These things represent darkness. You know, there are certain items, certain things in life, even like how when we were talking about the books in the last videos, there are just certain things that carry an aura. They carry a certain type of energy. And some of these masks are designed to carry and capture that darkness, you know? Just like, once again, the eyes wide shut thing. They are designed to carry this type of darkness. You could just tell, you could see it, because you don't think of anything else when you're looking at it. You don't think of nothing else but darkness. So that tells you what it represents, y'all. Let's get back into the rest of this clip.
Through them. Now, think about this. If you're an artist and something is operating through you, what happens to the people that are listening to you? So, if they're showing you that they're demon possessed, a demon is controlling them, demonic industry pledge, satanic ritual, blood sacrifice, all the stuff that they've done for this level of fame. You know they've done it, right? Nobody gets here without doing it. So when these guys do this kind of stuff for that level of fame, what happens to the atmosphere when they get up and perform? So the BET Awards, even the divorce ritual and all the different things that they did, and I didn't even go in depth with Snoop and all the rest of them performing, but when they perform in those atmospheres, they are changing the people that are in the audience. And by merging the gospel with a glorilla who's a glorified stripper, now you're bringing the younger audience in to believe that this is God's sound. This gets God's approval. I was watching Dietrich Haddon in that interview, and his children were standing behind him. And I was wondering in my mind, I'm like, what do they think? Is anybody even thinking about this generation?
Is anybody really thinking about this generation? And, we're talking about us, late 20s, early 30s, millennials, late 30s. Of course, the generation coming up behind us, the teenagers now, the early 20s, you know, it's kind of sad to say, but you could pretty much say they're done. I think I've touched on this before. People around our age, we're already who we are. We've already been manipulated to a point. Some of us have come out of it. We've already been steered in a certain direction. Some of us won't change, some of us will. Some of us had the opportunity to change, to get out of all of the mind control, basically, even though we're still being fed a lot of stuff through AI and this new technology. But y'all get what I'm trying to say. Like the younger generation now, they're fried. A lot of this stuff is meant for younger minds, kids that can still be manipulated, kids that still, their brains are still in the process of developing and soaking up everything, so they're being steered in a direction that they can't control. And that is what this stuff is all about. I've always said it, like a lot of this stuff is not done for a crowd that's they consider us to already be past the point of like, we've done the damage on them. Let's continue to get the kids. Let's continue to do these rituals and keep these spells going for generation after generation, because that's truly what it's all about, is keeping that, that trauma, keeping the spells, keep it going after generation. That's how Satan operates, through darkness like this, that will make younger kids look at stuff like this like it's cool. And it just that was pretty strong. Is anyone thinking about this generation? Even including us, people who are a little bit older, early 90s, late 80 babies, we are still being manipulated. There's a lot of us who still haven't come out of being, young minded. You still very impressionable by people on the internet, or you still want to listen to drill rappers who 10 years younger than you, influencing you to, do things you would never do if you didn't have this kind of influence from people who 10 years younger than you. Simple to say. That's why such, especially in music, because that's what this is about. We know music has, just like he said in the beginning, has the most influence on you. That's why it's used so much. That's why young teenagers are, in a sense, running it, and you're being influenced by someone who's 12 years younger than you, telling you what to do. And you listening. It's crazy. That's how backwards it is. You're getting guidance and you're getting influence, you're getting negative energy, you're getting negative spirits placed on you by teenagers. 20 years old, got you out here doing drills still. It's crazy. It's crazy, the stronghold, the influence, the possession, that comes out of music, man. And it doesn't have to just be rap. Man, this is a topic. I thought this was different. I don't think we've ever really talked about, mask and what they represent, how demonic they can actually be. Very interesting topic, man. I think we'll leave this freaky looking monster right here on the screen in this video. Yeah, man, y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Jump down in the comments, man. We get a conversation going back and forth. Y'all already know what is going on, man. I got a lot of content coming up for y'all. Um, I'm still in that mode, man. So yeah, definitely anything y'all want to see on the channel, always be sure to let me know. And with that being said, it's Black Balloon, and I'm gonna see y'all soon. All right, I'm out.